Welcome everyone. My name is Sunny Bakama and I'm one of Allan Hancock College's part-time faculty librarians. Today you're going to be learning about two of the library's databases that have information about social issues, which are SIRS and Opposing Viewpoints in Context. So they could actually help you a lot, obviously, with social issues research. And I also wanted to mention that there will be another social issues research video available, which was created by another Allan Hancock College librarian. That video focuses on other databases to what I'll be actually showing you, Academic Search Complete and CQ Researcher. So that video would also be worth viewing as well as mine. Anyway, so as you can see, we are on the college's website. To get to the library's homepage, you'll need to select Library up here. So this is the homepage. Please be sure to explore all of the library's web pages in your own time, as they do provide a wealth of helpful information. So to get to the databases I mentioned, you need to go under the research heading and then select articles and resources. The Find Articles and More page contains many databases which have thousands of articles, government documents, ebooks, etc. For instance, here are some of the databases under social sciences. Here are newspaper databases. So we do have a lot of databases available under each of those tabs. So I'm going to go to General Article Databases. And by the way, I wanted to let you know that you can access any of these resources off campus 24/7. However, you will need to use my Hancock username and password to access them off campus, for a majority of them. So under the General Article Databases tab, you can access the two databases which I'll be showing you today, SIRS and Opposing Viewpoints in Context. And I'm going to start showing you SIRS to begin with. So SIRS, this particular database, all the resources are full text, and it contains many of the latest controversial issues. A lot of issues contain, if you look them up, they contain the pros and the cons of the issue. So this homepage provides a search bar, as you can see, and an option of browsing different topics. As you can see here, we've got trending topics. We've got editors' picks. And then there's options here if you need help actually choosing a topic. I'm going to go to the editor's picks to begin with. I think just to demonstrate looking at one of those topics. I'm going to select organ donation. So this is how the leading issues are set out on the database. We're provided with a summary. You can select Read Full Summary. Note the tools on the left and right-hand side of the screen. For instance, we have Listen, so you can listen to the information that this resource provides. Enables you to save to Cloud, Google Drive, OneDrive, Cite. So if you wanted to use some of this information in a paper, for instance, you could select Cite, and it provides citation styles for MLA, APA, etc. But if you're going to use a citation from here, please do check that it is accurate. It may not be 100% correct. Other tools are print, email. Email is useful because, you know, you could email this actual document to yourself, for instance. Note it provides different viewpoints, viewpoint 1, viewpoint 2, and each hyperlink leads to a resource. Okay. So, you know, you could find more sources for organ donation. This is useful. It's a research guide for the critical thinker, which will help guide you through the challenging research process, which is, you know, often the case, from choosing a topic to constructing your argument. I'll just briefly show you that. So it certainly looks useful in terms of, you know, planning out your research paper. We also have critical questions here that you might want to think about while you're researching. There's an organ donation timeline as well. So now that I've shown you that, I'm going to perform a basic search. So I've decided I want to research the social issue of video games. Notice I'm using quotation marks for this because I want video games to be recognised as one term. So results will appear in which the words are positioned right next to each other, not as two separate terms. So results won't come up just with, you know, different videos and just games. It will be video games. So I'll select the magnifying glass. Okay, so there are a lot of results, 2030 results. Notice that the first result here is a leading issue, like the organ donation page. So there looks to be a lot of useful results here. However, you can limit your results to focus upon what you need to do, for instance, what your instructor requires. Maybe they only want you to research newspaper sources, for instance. See, you can limit by these options on the left. So I'm going to select newspapers. So only resources will come up which are newspapers for my search of video games. So now we have less results here. I'm also going to limit my publication date to the last couple of years, maybe, you know, your instructor only wants the most recent information. So I'll select, I think I'll go back to 2020. March 2020. And then to today's date, the 30th March 2022. Then you need to select apply. So there are a lot less results now, 147 results, which is a manageable number to work with compared to what it was anyway. So I think I might select this one, Rise in Video Game Addiction. I'm firstly interested in looking at the negatives of video games, so I'll select that one. So here we have a newspaper article. Notice it has a summary, first of all, which obviously is a good idea to read to see whether it would be appropriate for your research. Yeah, and it does look like this could be a promising article to use. Note the extra tools of the page compared to the organ donor or organ transplant page I was showing you before. It's got translate. You can view related documents. So that's useful to do. You may, you know, come across something you normally wouldn't by perhaps looking at some of these. You also might get some more ideas by looking at the related subjects, for instance. I wanted to show you the advanced search tool here. So as you can see, unlike the basic search, straight away it has many options to consider. So we've got source types, publication date, limit to primary sources, the Lexile score. And by the way, that's a reading ability level. One last thing I wanted to point out to you to do with SIRS is actually the educators' resources, which would be useful for anyone using this database. Particularly the LibGuide, that's very helpful. It's got, you know, a webinar, for instance, a PowerPoint presentation. So it's certainly worth looking at. So now I'm going to return to the Find Articles and More page, and I'll show you opposing viewpoints in context. So it's located under General Article Databases. So this database explores different sides of today's pressing social issues. So it's like SIRS in that respect. And also like SIRS, it gives you the option of browsing different issues on its homepage. So it has all of these issues. I'll show you the book banning one. So firstly, provides an overview of the topic. And then it has various resources about it, as well as related topics. I like how this database sets out the different resources in the different areas. The related topics. But we can explore the setup of these pages further in a basic search, which I'll perform. So I'm going to perform a basic search for recreational marijuana. So we have a lot of results here. I like this topic finder feature. I'll show you that because it enables users to discover topics and results related to their search. So you would need to select Start the Topic Finder. Okay, so this is all obviously related to my search of recreational marijuana. So as an example, I'll select medical marijuana. So here we have the results for that search. For instance, I'll select this one. You could also select the wheel. It's just a different way of visualizing which words and subjects are found most often in the text of your search results. So you can filter your results by these options. For example, if I select full text documents, we do have less results. So that would mean that I wouldn't retrieve any abstracts or summaries of resources. It just would be, you know, the entire resource. I'm going to also filter my results for publication date. I just want the last several years of information to do with recreational marijuana. So I'll put 2018 to today's date. Select apply. So now we have less results. You can see my applied filters are here. And for this example, I'll pretend that my instructor has just requested, that they want videos to be used for the information. So I'm going to select videos. So 8 videos have come up. This result looks promising, medical versus recreational use of marijuana. So I'll select that one. Okay, notice the different tools that are available here for you to use too. And we have a transcript of the information as well as a video. So the information does look like it could be useful for my topic. Concerning the tools, we have Cite. So it enables you to cite through these different ways. But once again, do check that the citations are correct. It also has Send to, Google Drive, OneDrive. You can email it, which you can send it as the full document or just as just the citation. Download, print, get link. I like that tool, because you could copy this link, which leads you directly to this page. You could, collect your resources as you go, copying and pasting the links to a Word document, for instance. Highlights and notes, that could be helpful for you too. So you would need to select any article text to add highlights and notes. I'll show you how to do that. So I'll just select some text, which could be important for my research. And then I can highlight that. And I'll just put important for this example. Then select save. Notice the trash, you could delete it if you didn't want it anymore. Another feature of the highlights and notes is you can look up words in the dictionary that it provides. So if I wanted to know what legalizing means, I'd select that, define, and then information has come up for that. So then if I wanted to access the highlights and notes that I've made, I would select this, view all highlights and notes. Okay, so that's what I did there. Take note of the save warning. Make sure you download or send highlights and notes to yourself before exiting the product. Contents here will be lost after you close your browser. Other tools that we have that will help us is the Translate tool. We've also got, for example, Listen. More like this. So here are related articles to my topic. Certainly worth looking at. And related subjects. I'll just go back to the results page. Notice you can filter your results by peer-reviewed journals. I'm going to select that one. Quite often instructors do request that if you're using articles that they're peer-reviewed. So a peer-reviewed article is something written by highly credible authorities such as doctors, professors, and other experts in their fields, published in special peer-reviewed journals, which are carefully edited by other experts in the same field. So 6 academic journals have come up here. So you would need to select this to access all 6. Might select this one. This looks promising. So notice it has the same setup as the video. All of the resources which aren't leading issues will be set up like this. So it looks like it could be useful to me. Notice the term recreational marijuana is highlighted. And sorry, what I meant to say before is regarding the setup of the page is that, yeah, they're all set up in that way. I was thinking of SIRS before. So I'm going to just cross out of peer reviewed. And I wanted to show you leveled documents. Okay, so we have 4 results here. I'll select reference. So I thought I'd show you this because the 2 syntaxis resources and the 2 marijuana resources are the same, but they're at different content levels. So the purple boxes, that means level 4, which is generally the content is at a high school level, and the orange boxes, they're level 5, which generally means that it's at a undergraduate and graduate level. So, you know, it is obviously useful to know that with the information you may be using in a paper. So if I selected this marijuana reference resource here, this is at a level 4 at the moment, but you can change it to level 5. Just select the drop-down arrow next to Lexile measure. So now it's at the undergraduate, graduate level 5. So the length is 2,556 words, whereas the other one is less, 1,364 words. So definitely a difference there with the type of content, with the difficulty of content. I also wanted to show you the advanced search option in this database. So I'll select advanced search. So it provides more options compared to the basic search. For instance, we have these different options you can choose from in the fields section. We also have these search tips, which are hyperlinked. So if you select any of these, it explains what they do. For instance, operators, I'll select that one. These are the Boolean operators, and or not. They can be used to tell the search engine more specifically what you want it to do. For instance, with and, if you put the word and between your search terms, that tells the engine to find only the documents that include all of the terms you connected with the term and. So for this example, children and travel finds documents that contain both of those terms anywhere within the search text, and so on. So it's definitely worth reading through these. Quotation marks is another important one. Use quotations to ensure the search engine finds documents with all the terms in the exact order specified. With the SIRS example I showed you, video games. Using quotations will also ignore any special characters or operators found within, and so on. So here we have other, we've got search limiters here. You can find out what they involve by just selecting a question mark next to it. For instance, full text documents limits your search to documents from publications for which we have full text available. So you won't be getting any, abstracts or summaries of documents. We also have a lot of options here for document type. There are options for content level as well. And Lexile measure. So if you want to go into more complex searches, you should investigate the advanced search option. Another useful tool that this database provides is the help feature here. So it will explain the important features of the page you're on. As you can see, it's explaining some of the features of the advanced search, but you can also view all of the help topics up here. There's also a dictionary here in which you can look up any words that you may need help defining. I'm now going to provide a worksheet which will test your skills with this particular workshop. So I'll stop this share of this screen and I'll share the worksheet with you. So we just have 6 questions which are asking you to try out the basic search for SIRS and opposing viewpoints in context. So I'll actually demonstrate the answers to these questions, the types of answers that I'd expect you to have with this worksheet in the actual databases. I'll just go through my previous examples. So I'll stop the share of this and we'll go back to SIRS to begin with. So the first question was, using SIRS basic search option, perform a keyword search with the topic of your choice. Write down the keyword or keyword phrases you used. So my answer would be video games for my search. Note that I'm using quotation marks. Question 2 is refine your search results in at least 2 ways and list what you did. So I'm going to limit it by newspapers and publication date. Write down, question 3 is write down the title and author or the publisher, if there isn't an author, of one relevant source you found on your topic. So I was interested in looking at the negatives of video games. So this is the article that I was looking at. So it's rise in video game addiction feared among young children. And I was just see if there's an author. Doesn't look like they've listed the author, but we can see that the publisher is Japan News. So that would be the second part of my answer. Now, question 4, using opposing viewpoints in context, basic search option, perform a keyword search with the topic of your choice. Write down the keyword or keyword phrases you used. So I'll go back to opposing viewpoints in context. I'm searching for recreational marijuana. So that's my answer for the keywords. Refine your search results in at least 2 ways and list what you did. Well, for this example, I'll refine it for using full text documents. And I just want the last several years, so publication dates of 2018 to the 30th of March 2022. Apply. And then I'll select videos. So that's another way I'm limiting my results. Write down the title and author or publisher, if there isn't an author, of one relevant source you found on your topic. This is question 6. Make sure it's a different source to what you choose in SIRS. just in case the same kind of articles or resource comes up. So I'll select this video, medical versus recreational use of marijuana. That's the title. And I'm just looking for someone who's curated this video. So it looks like I would be writing down the publisher for that part of the answer, the New York Times Company. So I've come to the end of my workshop. If you need additional help with your research at all, or just go to the libraries page. So here we have our spring hours. So by all means, come in, visit us if you can. These are our hours for both libraries, the Santa Maria Campus Library and the Lompoc Valley Centre Library. We also have a chat box here. So as long as someone's available, you can type any type of information or question you may have here into the chat and someone will answer you. You can also text to chat. Here's the number. We also have, I'll select hours and location to show you other ways you could contact us. Under Expert Research Assistant, Ask a Librarian. So here we have our chat hours, and we also have the phone numbers of each of our libraries and email address. You could submit a research question here. If you happen to want a one-on-one virtual research consultation, we also have that listed under research. So we do that to support your assignments, and they're tailored to meet your needs. Contact us at least one day prior to the requested research consultation. And you would fill in this information here, select submit. And you're welcome to contact me directly, that's fine. I'm listed under library staff. If you scroll down the screen, my name is Sunny Bakama, and it's best to email me for help. So thanks so much for your time, and I hope you found this workshop to be useful. I wish you all the best with the rest of your semester.